In the night of the 5th to the 6th of November 2017, a rubber boat left Tripoli carrying between 130 and 150 people. That night, the vessel of the rescue NGO Sea Watch was patrolling off the Libyan coast just outside of Libya's contiguous zone, waiting for the next boat to rescue. At around 3 in the morning, the crew on duty saw the returns of 2 large ships on its radar screen. As these were not accounted for by AIS vessel tracking data, which most civilian ships are required to emit, the Sea Watch crew believed them to be military, either part of EUNAVFOR-Med, the EU's anti-smuggling operation, or of Italy's Mare operation, which has provided support to the Libyan Coast Guard and Navy in combating illicit traffic. Both these operations are part of a policy that aims to prevent migrants from crossing the sea by outsourcing border policing to Libya. As the migrants advanced, the sea became rougher, and their boat began taking in water. The passengers contacted the Italian Coast Guard for help via satellite phone. At 5:53 and 6:01, Sea Watch received a distress signalization from the Italian Coast Guard indicating no specific position, but that the vessel had departed from Tripoli. Sea Watch adapted its course immediately. The Italian Coast Guard also informed their Libyan counterparts, who had a vessel on patrol off the coast of Tripoli, and, according to a Libyan official we interviewed, requested their intervention. On the 10th of August 2017, the Libyan authorities had unilaterally declared the search and rescue zone, within which they claimed the responsibility to coordinate rescue, and repeatedly threatened NGOs entering it. Through the satellite phone provider, the Italian Coast Guard were soon able to determine the boat's location at 6 in the morning, the only georeference position we possess for the migrants' trajectory prior to rescue, and passed it on to Sea Watch at 6:31. The Italian Coast Guard also warned Sea Watch that the Libyan Coast Guard were present in a 9 nautical mile radius from the migrants' boat, and that Sea Watch should proceed with caution. Sea Watch's vessel is equipped with 7 wide-angle cameras mounted on the mast and deck that are constantly recording. Two of these capture crucial video evidence for our investigation. 2 additional GoPro cameras mounted on Sea Watch's rigid hull inflatable boats, or RIBs, provide close-up perspectives. Triangulating visual data from these cameras, as well as from another located on the Libyan Coast Guard vessel, allowed us to generate a dynamic model of the scene. Navigating the model between different camera perspectives and cross-referencing this evidence with testimony and locational data allowed us to reconstruct the entire rescue operation and its dire consequences as they unfolded. As Sea Watch approaches the position provided for the boat in distress, its crew sees other vessels through their binoculars. Apart from the silhouette of a French warship, these are, however, not yet visible in the lower resolution video footage. At 8:24, Sea Watch informs the Italian Coast Guard.
Hello. Yes, good morning. Just want to inform you that we are on close to the position of the refugee boat, but we can't see it. There is a Libyan Coast Guard ship and a French army ship around, and an airplane, but we have no visual on the boat.
Okay, so sir, I think that the boat with the migrants proceeding towards north. Proceed towards north for intercept the target.
As Sea Watch approaches, it can see the military aircraft circling back several times towards the migrant boat, now barely visible through Sea Watch's binoculars. According to several survivor testimonies, it is around this time that the boat's back tube deflates and many passengers fall overboard.
A little time, plane come, and we are shouting, but the plane go closer to us on the water. But he can't come down to come and rescue us. When he left the first time, and he came back for the second time.
After how much time did he come back?
Just for a while, he left, let me say, 2 minutes time when he left, before he come back. And when he come back, we are still on top of water, because the boat is still going, mama. When he left, when he's coming back for the third time, that he did not see us on water again, but he's seeing people little our held, because we're inside the water already. Many people have died. That is how he threw a life jacket to us.
At 8:45, the aircraft throws down life jackets and an inflatable raft, as well as smoke pots to mark the location of the boat in distress.
Yeah. There's a couple of flares that I think. I think it's the airplane. There's one further out towards the line.
Despite this, many of the migrants were unable to swim back to the deflated boat or to get a hold of the life-saving equipment while waiting to be rescued, and at least 20 people drowned. At 8:47, the French warship calls Sea Watch via radio to offer its help.
Sea Watch, what to do in Europe?
This is Sea Watch 3 on 1-2, read clear.
Have people seen the rubber ones?
Yeah.
I would like to know your attention, and I am ready to help you if necessary.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, we will proceed to the target and we will call if we assistance more or less.
Okay, sir.
Stand on 1-2.
Shortly afterwards, the French warship will contact the Libyan Coast Guard 7 times offering support, without receiving a reply. At 8:53, for the first time, the video footage shows distinctly and in the same frame all vessels in vicinity of the migrants' boat. As confirmed by a UNAFORMED internal report, they include the French warship Mare, which will stay at a distance but later contribute one of its inflatable boats to the rescue, and the Portuguese patrol aircraft. Both these assets are part of the UNAFORMED anti-smuggling operation. We can further see the Libyan Coast Guard patrol vessel Ras Jadir, which had been handed over to them by the Italian Interior Minister on the 15th of May 2017. According to UNAFORMED's internal reports, 8 out of the 13 crew members present on board had been trained by the EU operation. By projecting the image captured by Sea Watch's video camera onto the sea's surface, we can estimate the relative distance of the assets from the Sea Watch ship. We can then map their approximate position in a 3-dimensional model of the scene. While at this time the Sea Watch vessel is the closest to the rubber boat, within the next 10 minutes the faster Libyan Coast Guard vessel speeds up to intercept the boat first. The French warship continues to remain at a distance. While the Libyan Coast Guard informed their Italian counterparts that they would coordinate the rescue on scene, No instructions had been transmitted to Sea Watch. Sea Watch and the Libyan Coast Guard are left to resolve their conflicting imperatives of rescue and interception on their own as they approach.
I read you on 1-6. Go ahead. Negative, we have orders from MRCC. We continue rescue. Over. Thank you.
Despite the lack of confrontation in this communication, the logics of rescue and interception will prove irreconcilable. While the Libyan Coast Guard vessel circles around the migrants' boat, Sea Watch sees people who had fallen overboard earlier still scattered in the water and left unattended. The rescue NGO lowers its 2 inflatable boats.
Okay, guys, I stop and you prepare towing the life raft. Towing the raft. Tow the raft now. The raft, tow it, tow it.
Without Sea Watch's intervention, many more people would have drowned. At 9:07, an Italian military helicopter deployed from a nearby warship, part of the Mare operation, contacts Sea Watch offering assistance and requesting that Sea Watch send its rib near the migrants' boat.
Italian helicopter, go ahead. Copy that. The rip will take people out of the water without the ship.
While the Libyan Coast Guard pull over the migrants' boat and begin taking people on board, Sea Watch ribs approach to rescue those in the water.
Negative, we don't see any persons in the water, over.
Yes. Yes. Hey. Come on. Okay. You need to watch the back. Okay. Yes, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
People in the water, directly into the Libyan Coast Guard ship.
Some more. Ja. Hey, Gennaro, can you prepare the life vest, please?
Some of the intercepted migrants, fearing their treatment in the hands of the Libyan Coast Guard and in Libyan camps thereafter, attempt to reach the ribs of the European NGO instead. In this moment, the distance between Africa and Europe is only as far apart as that between the Libyan Coast Guard and the Sea Watch vessels. From the perspective of a mobile phone video shot by the Libyan Coast Guard, we can see that by pulling the migrants' boats towards its side, it risked making it capsize at any moment, thus endangering the passengers' lives. In an increasingly chaotic situation, with several people simultaneously in urgent need of help in the water, despite the best efforts of Sea Watch's crew, one person is left to drown. While the Sea Watch crew is busy trying to rescue people, the Libyan Coast Guard start throwing several hard objects at them.
Okay, let's start throwing things at them. Shouting at them.
The Libyan Coast Guard are starting to throw stuff. The Libyan Coast Guard is throwing stuff at our headquarters. Over.
Thus, rather than prioritizing the rescue operation, they effectively hinder it. This aggression forces the Sea Watch ribs to retreat. As a result, a second person is left to drift and slowly die. We can see this person trying to escape the Libyan Coast Guard by attempting to swim towards the Sea Watch rib, just as it is forced to retreat. The Libyan Coast Guard, having not deployed its own rib, which a spokesperson later claimed was dysfunctional, is unable to assist him either. As the crew attempts to reach him, he is carried away by the currents. The video records the slow tragedy in its full graphic horror. We can see the man struggling to keep afloat and maintain his head above the water. But his body is slowly pulled down and he disappears under the waves into the sea's liquid mass. Now the Libyan Coast Guard appear to be signaling to the Sea Watch crew to return, but by the time the Sea Watch rib arrives, it is too late. At 9:30, almost all migrants have left the rubber boat. On the deck of the patrol vessel, the Libyan Coast Guard attempts to regain control over the captured passengers by cordoning them off with a rope and repeatedly beating them. Despite this, some migrants still attempt to escape.
Komm. You sit hier. Los. Ab. Center. Fast. Okay. Welcome. Everybody on board.
At 9:36, the video shows the Libyan Coast Guard increase the boat's speeds to rapidly leave the scene. Seizing his last chance, one more passenger desperately jumps overboard. The Libyan Coast Guard depart, despite him still hanging on the ladder on the side of the ship. Only after the Italian military helicopter repeatedly radios the Libyan Coast Guard vessel to stop, does the crew slow down and pull the person on board.
You got
The violence and carelessness exercised by the Libyan Coast Guard had become so excessive that even the Italian military, which has supported the Libyan Coast Guard's activities, had to try and contain it. Despite the interference by the Libyan Coast Guard during this conflictual rescue event, Sea Watch succeeded in rescuing 59 people and brought them safely to Europe. However, as the Libyan Coast Guard faded into the distance with 47 intercepted migrants on board, their fate of detention and violence in Libya was clear to all actors involved in the events. Furthermore, over 20 people died before and during the rescue. By equipping, training, advising, and coordinating the Libyan Coast Guard to enforce their policies of border policing by proxy, Italy and the EU shared a responsibility for the lethal outcomes of this and other interceptions at sea. While rescue NGOs such as Sea Watch have been criminalized in Italy, their presence at sea remains fundamental to rescue migrants in distress as long as they are forced to embark on perilous journeys, but also to document and contest the EU's policies of containment.